Alright guys, we're into round 2 here, tonight's Friday Night Magic tournament. 4 rounds of Swiss tonight, followed by a cut to top 8. We're already into our action. On the left, back in the area, having left the area last year to pursue his medical career, one Dr. Matthew Elliott, aka Dr. Matt, who is playing a Gruul Aggro deck. It's basically a mono-red deck, as you would expect. We see Cacklers, we see Emissaries, things of that nature, but playing Domries, Gore Clan Rampagers, and Scavenging Ooze. So basically a mono-red deck featuring those cards. His opponent is stream regular Garrett Meadows, who's currently resolving a Thoughtseize, who is playing red, white, black control. It's a Desecration Demon, Blood Baron of Vizkopa deck with a lot of removal and discard that we're currently seeing. So it should be the classic battle between the late game control deck with lots of removal and the super aggressive creature-based aggro deck. So Matt follows up his Cackler with a turn 2 Scavenging Ooze. Let's see if Garrett can find an untapped red source and clear the board with an Anger of the Gods. No, we see a Temple of, I believe it's Deceit is what the Orzhov Scryland is called. We are going to see a Mortars take out the Scavenging Ooze before it can start getting big. Garrett leaving the card on top, so setting up for some business next turn. So taking that Burning Tree Emissary, pretty big game for Garrett, shutting down Matt's explosiveness as we see a Firefist Striker. We know about the Ooze, another Ooze, and then 2 copies of Gore Clan Rampager followed by a Mizzium Mortars. Mizzium Mortars is going to be pretty big in this matchup as it is one of Matt's only ways of dealing with Blood Baron. The only other being a giant Scavenging Ooze that can block it, or a giant Ooze and a Domri fight. So there's the replacement Scavenging Ooze. And Matt's stuck on 2 lands, so just passes back to Garrett. We knew that Shock Land was on top, or at least we knew Garrett knew what land was on top because of the Scry. So that's his 4th land. Very unlikely that there's going to be another land in Garrett's hand, so we know he's all business. Down to 12 life. Then Matt is going to figure out how this Desecration Demon works. So Matt has the opportunity here, should he want it, to play a Firefist Striker, then just pass back, and the next turn he can use the Firefist Striker's ability to keep the Desecration Demon out of combat. We also see a Boros Reckoner that he can't cast. He can also attack in, and if Garrett blocks, he can Mizzium Mortars the Demon. He might be content with that. Otherwise, he's going to be able to force through 8 damage because we know there's a Gore Clan Rampager in his hand. So he decides to go with plan A that we talked about, just playing the Firefist Striker, then passing back. So Garrett now has the opportunity to blow this game wide open. Should he be able to find a removal spell for the Firefist Striker? Should he be able to cast Resolve an Anger of the Gods? He's got a thinker here. We know he doesn't have a 5th land unless he just drew it. Unlikely he had one if he scried the Blood Crypt to the top. And there's a Read the Bone, so he's going to go drop down to 10. We know that Matt has a Gore Clan Rampager in his hand. He actually has 2. So, unless Garrett can find some way of dealing with one of those creatures, Matt is representing lethal with the battalion trigger off the Firefist Striker. So Garrett's got a real thinker here, resolving Read the Bones. He finds a Temple of Deceit, so he pushes the card on top. But we know if he passes back, and I don't think there's a 1 mana card in his deck that will affect this game. This game is basically over, so Matt's just going to untap, attack, and Gore Clan one of his guys, and that should be exactly 10 and enough to steal this one. Of course, Garrett attacking with his demon because he wasn't going to be able to block anyway. So there's the attacks. Let's see if Matt pulls the trigger here. I imagine he would. I guess he may be playing around shock. Just deciding if he wants to go for it here or try to win next turn. And he is going to go for it. And Garrett doesn't. West Virginia States, those videos, or at least the ones that ended up being worth watching, over on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/ZachSellsMagic. So go over there and watch the round 1 quarterfinals and finals of that event. But that, of course, did mean I had to pile all of my equipment up out of the shop and haul it across town. So there are a little bit of bugs to work out as I reset all of the traditional settings. So a turn 1 Boros Temple from Garrett into a turn 2 Orzhov Temple, and then Matt's just going to play a Temple Garden tap. Temple Garden, of course, the forest that casts Boros Reckoner. That's the reason it's in the deck, not any different than the old Gruul Aggro decks. We're going to see a Dreadbore take out the promo Scavenging Ooze. Then pass back. We see Matt has a pretty land-heavy draw here, as he does have 2 more mountains in his hand. But we do see Chandra Pyromaster, as well as a Boros Reckoner, so Matt's going to curve out pretty well here. We'll see if Garrett regrets using that Dreadbore on the Ooze, as it would be a lot better placed against the Planeswalker. But Garrett's just going to slam his 4th land and then pound out a Desecration Demon. So we know Chandra's going to come down here, but if it's not really going to do much, as you can go upstairs, fall through the Desecration Demon, and allow Matt to tack in for 3, but then the Demon is just going to kill Chandra on the crackback. So Matt's got a little bit of a situation to deal with here. Lots of business in his hand, but none of them very effective at dealing with. A 4 mana cost, 6/6 flyer. Question in the chat about how Ireland was. Of course, the Pro Tour is in Dublin this week, and 3 weeks ago I was in Ireland for my own annual vacation. It was lovely. If I'm not mistaken, that question is coming from Northern Ireland. We did make a trip to Northern Ireland, or at least to Belfast for the day. But it is a lovely, lovely island. Highly recommend anyone go there if they can. So Matt's still figuring out where he wants to be here. He can hard cast a Gore Clan Rampager. He can cast, I believe, an Act of Treason. That might be the best line here. Just steal the demon, get in for 9, and effectively have Garrett's life total. Also a question in the chat, can you win the giveaway if you're in prison? I guess you can. I'm going to mail it to the prison, whether or not they, whether or not it gets through their security process. That's beyond my control. It's either a standard internet troll or one of the more interesting situations I've been in. Also getting greetings from Ireland in the chat, so lots of representation over there tonight. So Matt decides just to play the Gorklan Rampager. He might be setting up, I may have misread that Act of Treason in his hand, but maybe setting up for a win next turn. Let me see a Doomblade take out the Rampager. And another copy of Dreadbore answering Boros Reckoner. So Garrett is all removal all the time. In this matchup, I believe he sides out... I don't know what he sides out actually, but I know that 3 more removal spells come in. He has a Doomblade, a Dreadbore, and I think another Mizzium Mortars in the sideboard, and they all make an appearance in the sideboard games. So I shouldn't be surprised here. Demon getting in for another 6, dropping Matt down to 8. So this one getting out of hand here. And there's a Boros Reckoner, which makes the Act of Treason plan not nearly as good. So Matt still has the Pyromaster, still has an Act of Treason. Meanwhile, I got a phone call from a unknown number interrupting our broadcast here. So apologies for that. So Matt in the tank here, trying to figure out how to get out of this one, what seems like an almost impossible spot. Basically dead on board. Well, not dead on board. He can sack the Rampager, tap down the Demon. Probably not going to get very far with that line, but it will stave off lethal damage for a turn. Barring that, the Boros Reckoner is virtually unblockable in this situation, as it will still do its 3 damage.
I really like that the Boros can do that traditional barrage weapons, so they can upgrade and do that one single shot that really wrecks big stuff. So they have a new zombie game up there. It's like zombie survival. It's actually more, I played one the other night, like 5 hours. I didn't even do anything, I just went on the arcade, because based on your character level, not like you don't play the game and earn levels that way. It's literally whatever character level you are, basically what you can go out with. And the most first one is the Stalker. And like if you're not level 30 yet, it's kind of annoying. And but like we had like 2 guys that had ultra lists, so like 15.
And the phone call I got was a call from my local city council letting me know about some events coming up this weekend. So thanks for interrupting my Magic stream, City of Hurricane, West Virginia, with your automated recordings. But just to let everyone know, there is a annual skate fair tomorrow at the Hurricane Skate Park if you want to get in on that action. So I've gone, listened to the voicemail on my phone, ranted a little bit about said voicemail, come back and Matt is still figuring out where he wants to be here. Matt, a very good player, somewhat deliberate. He's not gonna give up, but this spot is not really looking good for him. So we're tapping 4 here for another Rampager. Well, it can't be a Rampager. I guess we're firing up the Chandra here. I don't think Chandra's gonna do anything. You can play the Chandra falter. The Boros Reckoner redirects back to you, drops to 7. Attack in with the Rampager. Well, what we've gotten so far is to figure out the Planeswalker is coming down. +1. He is going to falter the Reckoner. Garrett is going to take 1 damage off the Chandra +1, and he's going to be able to serve in for 4 here. So I guess this is the best line in terms of forcing some damage through. And he's going to shock himself down to 5. So this line, if Garrett has 2 removal spells, this line is lethal. I killed the 2 creatures before combat, so the demon trigger never makes an appearance. Yep, so there is the Desecration Demon trigger. Going to attack in with the Reckoner and then finish him off with the Warleader's Helix from his hand. So I did forget that Garrett plays 2 copies of Warleader's Helix. He might have a 3rd in the board, I can't remember, but that does give him the reach he needs to steal this game. Well, not really steal, he was way ahead the whole time as Match Draw just could not handle that turn 4.
Actively hate it.
I actively hate it. Well, that's a thing. That's still a card. Well, yeah, it is. Well, these guys, considering their keeps here, we're both keeping 7, so, Garrett reminding Matt how his cards work.
Right there is the reason I toyed around with the Gruul deck online. That's the problem right there.
No 1-drop?
Yep.
Your mana base is crap. See, Garrett's content for his mana base to be kind of crap because his cards are better.
Right.
But the longer the game goes, well, that's a pretty good spot, too. So, untap, Doomblade your Scavenging Ooze. Oh, no. Look for that untapped Red Source and the Anger of the Gods.
See, he's really in a spot to where...
God, you guys again? I know. I'm joined by Aaron Daly.
Like the red-green deck, it's like they can't really play a guy here. They're just going to get blown out.
Yes, you just have to ride these 2. I think I was talking about this a couple weeks ago. Well, lamenting back in the day of Zendikar Standard, where sometimes you just play the Goblin Guide and then just ride the Goblin Guide until they answer it. It's the same way here. Like, I don't really know if you need to add that Experiment 1 to the board.
I think 4 power is about where you want to be.
Yeah, especially when you've got Rampagers and burn spells. So we see a Domri from Matt. I don't think he has a 3rd untapped land to cast it. And he can't evolve the Experiment 1 either. So Garrett all the way down to 11. That Ratchet Bomb going to be able to take out the Experiment 1 next turn. He'd really like to blow it for 2, but I don't think he's going to get the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I think if he had an Anger of the Gods, he would have already played it. He's probably going to have to do it for 2. He really wants to get... You really want to be able to hold that Ratchet Bomb, just get Domri Rod with it. But he's not really in a spot where he can do that.
I don't really like Ratchet Bomb in this spot. I like Ratchet Bomb against the Advent voice decks, and that's about it. And even then, I'm not real thrilled about it. Like, if it's like a one-of, or, you know, something in the sideboard, if you have 14 cards and don't know what else to put in there, you just jam Ratchet Bomb in.
I think it was just a preventative measure for them to print it again. So things like that, at least have some kind of check.
Yeah, well, I mean, before rotation, I thought it was a very good card, because, like, the Aristocrats deck, like, I mean, it makes, there's a lot of zero, it's best against the zero, you know, a 2-mana one-sided Wrath of God is very good, but, yeah, it has lost a little bit of that since people stopped playing, since Lingering Soul's no longer around. It wasn't even very good against Lingering Souls. You just get half a card.
Yeah, I like to, like the Sun Titan deck with the Lingering Souls.
Oh, no, it's very good with Sun Titan. If we're going back to a world where you have Sun Titan, then I'm on board with Ratchet Bomb.
But I've never liked it before or after, but
I'm also on board with Sun Titan and Liliana.
Yep, that was all part of the same deck.
That's currently sleeved up in my modern deck. It's sometimes a one of, and it's usually a Gifts Unburial Rights target, but still, it happens.
I played a lot of the Forbidden Alchemy deck back when that was the thing. It was like Forbidden Alchemy. And
The Solar Flare. They called
it Solar Flare.
Yeah, that dumb name from the dumb deck beforehand.
It was a Sun Titan deck.
It was Sun Titan deck. If you got to reanimate it, that was just gravy.
Yeah.
Like you're just playing Liliana based Esper control deck, and then you had Sun Titans at the end, which do a lot of degenerate stuff.
It's also an era before people realized how bonkers Liliana was.
Yes, well that's when she went from like $30 to $60 like over one weekend.
Yeah.
She really hasn't come down. I just bought one today off eBay with my eBay bucks.
How does one acquire eBay bucks?
One buys enough stuff on eBay and gets enough percentage back that one has a lot of eBay bucks.
Nice.
And I bought a Liliana, and they're still going for about 34 to 36 cash on eBay. So it's probably, $50 retail, something like that?
No idea.
It's because she's the best 3-mana Planeswalker they've ever printed.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that list is as long as you make it sound, though.
There you go.
They've printed a lot of 3-mana Planeswalkers.
That one had to have been off the top. Well, I guess he played a tap land last turn.
Triple is probably the best 2-mana planeswalker they've ever printed.
Yes. Jace Bellin's good. Bajani, not that great. How much did Nissa Ravane cost?
4.
Trying to think of other 3-mana Planeswalkers. I'm sure the chat will pound in with that. So Anger of the Gods clearing the board for Garrett. That's his best card in this matchup, easily.
Probably the most important one.
Yeah. So ticking the Ratchet Bomb up to 2 here. Still wants to get it to 3 in this spot, I imagine. But of course, Boros Reckoner not nearly as good against Garrett's deck as it is in Garrett's deck, as you do have access to Hero's Downfall, Mizzium Mortars, Dreadbore, Doomblade, 3 of which don't result in any damage.
I'd have probably rather just played a Domri right there.
Oh, he did have the Domri, didn't he? Just try to grind out some card advantage.
You can just shrug off a Reckoner for a while. Even if you play it and it just gets Dreadboard, it kind of sucks. So you want to play around that.
I know for a fact that Garrett has 2 Ratchet Bombs in his 75. They're both on Sideboard. Now they're both on the table. So the one Ratchet Bomb conveniently sitting on 3.
Yeah.
He's going to sorcery speed that counter. He's just going to let him know, hey.
Maybe I'll have to crank the other one up to 2. That was always the worst.
I crank it up to 11. There's that hurt a little laugh in there.
It was a pity laugh.
I
think it was you, actually.
That's entirely possible. I laugh at my own joke. Through the miracles of modern technology, no one knows.
Unless people have ears.
I said hi, Ian.
See, that was his plan all along. Now he's just going to play all the 2-drops, making bomb for 2, then drop 3.
At this point, Garrett just needs a way to win the game.
Oh, really? That's what he needs?
Well, I mean, he's got... but I mean...
As most players do
true.
in Magic games.
Yeah, true, but...
what he needs to do now is not tie so he can kill the other player.
I think you're taking my comment a little bit too literal, but you are not wrong. But he does just need a way of just literally a way of closing this game out. He's in a great spot here. He's basically blanking all the cards in Matt's deck. He's just answered a mostly irrelevant...
I don't understand why he didn't use the 2 greens to at least exile stuff out of his graveyard for... I mean, I know we're not in Innistrad block anymore, but it just seems like being thorough.
He may have another one that he may want to use to get bigger later.
Oh, I'm slow.
Oh, I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but that's one line that he could be taking. I think we're seeing a Domri here or a hard cast Rampager. Well, he's just not going to cast that Domri into that 3. Ratchet Bomb on 3. But he also can't remove the Ratchet Bomb on 3. Interesting.
I'm curious that he didn't take the other one out.
Interesting. Well, that's really good
is that
too.
A Blood Baron?
That's Ray Barone's brother.
Blood Baron. Everybody loves Blood Baron.
It's like the Robert Barone. Everybody.
Raymond. That's not even accurate at all.
No.
Raymond. I'm a police officer.
It's the worst.
I'm very tall.
That's not just the worst impression of Robert Barone. That is the worst impression of anyone ever.
I'm very awkward.
So a Blood Baron of Vizkopa comes down, and Matt has exactly the following ways of dealing with it: making a giant scavenging ooze, fighting with said ooze from Domri, or mortars.
Yeah.
And I think he has 3 copies of mortars in the 75.
What's happened to Mortar's price since rotation?
I mean, it's just hovered. It's
At least he's kind of in a break-even spot. You can kind of try to draw out of it. Removal spell's not.
Is that an auger spree? We're going deep, boys.
That was my exact thought.
So what does auger spree do that something else doesn't?
I guess you could technically...
You beat Regenerate or something like that.
do that. You can make your Desecration Demon like a 10-4.
Oh yeah,
or a
you
10-2, I
can
guess.
do that. I'm sure. I will make sure I ask Garrett why, because I'm sure Garrett's been working on this deck for months, so it's not like that's a mistake. You know what I mean? It's not like he didn't accidentally pick it up instead of a 2 blade.
I'd get it if
You kill a Fleece Man in response to the Monstrous. I know that's not the main reason it would be there, but...
I guess it is just. Is it instant? It's an instant.
Yeah. It could be a legit card if they killed any of the gods. But,
They all have 5 toughness or more.
yeah.
I was
There's the
curious
Domri.
as to how anything other than green, green, would deal with gods. Not even if they've hit devotion.
Then-
Like, I just use Perforus, and even without devotion, you could still enable him to the point where it's pretty nutty.
Well, Porphyros is very good.
I'm citing in Angelic Edict. I've got 2 in the side just in case.
There's a 3-cost instant now that exiles enchantments.
Yeah, that's like the only hard answer I think is from Theros. That and it's obviously printed with that in mind.
Well, I'm thinking non-green though. I was trying to rack my brain of ways non-green can deal with.
So Garrett's going to serve in here with the. Well, he's attacking.
The Blood Baron.
Well, he's announced his Desecration Demon trigger, and Matt's going to go ahead and start the slow grind that is dying. So we're just letting him keep the Domri here. We're gonna.
Domri is not that good.
It's the only card that Matt has, so might as well kill it. But he's going to use. Yeah. So this is an embarrassment of riches here as Garrett goes up to over his starting life total into Matt's empty board with an Obzedat exiled, a 7-power Desecration Demon,
And a Blood Baron.
and Robert Barone.
Raymond!
Oh god, please don't. Please no more.
I'm going to perfect that impersonation. I'm still working on a Christopher Walken.
You're still working on a Robert Barone, it sounds like.
I just started working on that today.
So Obzedat comes back, swings the life totals by 4. We're just going to attack in here.
Is the Blood Baron not enough for lethal right now?
Yeah, that's lethal.
Isn't he like a 8/8 or a 10/10 right
Well,
now?
Matt can go up to 10 life, and he can take... Yeah, he can take... Yeah, he's dead. He should have sacked his... He should have gained the life, then sacked to the demon, and then lose next turn.
Oh, Matt's the guy
Oh,
that I
still
played
had all
first
this
round.
Reckoners. Yep, Matt is the guy you played first round. Are you playing Boros tokens?
It's
Like
like
a
a
Boros
Boros
aggro?
mid-range kind of thing. Oh, yes.
What is it?
Hockey! So when I lived in Japan, I ate this stuff all the time. They also had these koala-shaped candies that were full of... Not shaped. Thank you.
I'm just curious at what it is. Oh, I'm probably on board with this. It looks like a piece of balsa wood.
It's like an unsalted pretzel with chocolate on it.
It's about like balsa wood with chocolate on it. Pretty spot on.
I'll try anything once, Dave. Food-wise.
It's my style, man.
So we got 10 minutes left. There's a very good chance that was the last game to be played. That's got to be a pretty rough matchup for Garrett there, or for Matt there. I figure this is the kind of matchup that Garrett would dream of. Like the red decks, like the strictly red decks, can have some unbeatable draws. Even if you do have all the removal, you can still just lose to your non-stop tap lands. But the green deck's just a little bit slower. And I think that little bit of speed, like Scavenging Ooze, a lot of times doesn't do anything because you have to untap with it.
Yeah, see, you kind of ran into the problem where it was like the nut draw in the previous format. You play an Experiment 1, then you play Burning Tree, you play the 3/3 boar. So it's like you got your 8 power on the
Flint
second turn.
Hoof Boar,
Flint Hoof
Dave?
Boar, yeah. It's it's just like he ran into the exact problem I have with that deck. I'm trying to play red greens. You can just get stuck with a tap land on the first turn. You're so far behind.
You are. Hey, you know what we're giving away this week?
Fluff board.
This thing. So one of our players' girlfriends did this altar, and then they gave it to me to give away, and I think it's pretty cool. It's a colossal whale.
Makes sense.
I don't know. I enjoy things that are clean and simplistic. This is my style of art. Look,
So
how
Colossal Whale flies.
it does now. It's altered art. When you alter a card, all rules are off. It's nebulous out there.